Welcome to the second episode of Campaign D-Scussions. Today I am joined by Patrick, and yeah, let's get started. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Patrick.
I've just turned 29 recently from this past May the 6th, which that's when my birthday is actually. And so I used to live with my parents all throughout my last 24 years of life, like with my parents from before when I started to end up living independently on my own, over at another different town, back down in Brighton for at least 4 years in a row, and then I've been living back here in the Gates area, over at Hidden Valley, for just nearly closer to my third year there already. And so I do like to play sports, and that's how I'm also a Special Olympics athlete and athlete leader through Special Olympics New York. And then I've been an Eagle Scout for the last 12 years already. And
Nice.
then I also have been running my Staley Show for the last 5 years so far already. And that's how I'm now on to my 6th season of my Staley Show.
So tell me more about your Staley Show.
So I've done my Staley Show for just the last 5 years, if that's how I'm on to my 6th season of my Staley Show this year already. And so I've done a whole bunch of episode posts of my Staley Show, especially over at least 10 to less than 20 episodes each for my Staley Show, both each as episode posts on Facebook and then also as real episodes about my last 5-season preview episodes of my Staley Show on TikTok already.
Oh, nice. That's dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading yourself out on different platforms.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, just with real video logs to TikTok, then especially how I've also first started to do the same way for my YouTube channel as well as before when I then just did the same with TikTok. And so I was also following in your footsteps of how I do my show from Facebook to then my YouTube channel and then the same way on TikTok as well.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
I could tell by by your posts on the Staley Show that your favorite movie of all time is The Greatest Showman, starring Hugh Jackman. Tell me more about your passion for that film.
So, The Greatest Showman was actually just one of my favorite musical movies of all time. And so, all I know about P.T. Barnum was, especially from ever since I've seen that movie, The Greatest Showman, and then I've also read a single Who HQ book about P.T. Barnum, which was Who Was P.T. Barnum as well. And then I've also watched a video log based off from the 119th edition of The Greatest Show on Earth, which was the original classic Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey from all the way back at the end of the late 80s, however, which was just about the retirement tribute to Gunther Gable Williams. And then I also have at least 2 more other different bigger books about P.T. Barnum that I still have never read about just yet. Because I am kind of still thinking about trying to read one of my next 2 other different books about P.T. Barnum, which are quite a bit long, but I could still try to get used to longer books just to make me such a very strong reader, which that's what I also do like to do as well, which is to read books a lot.
I would this is what I do. I'd recommend not sponsored, by the way.
Right.
I would recommend Audible, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to audiobooks, because the way my brain works is, when I'm I tend to, feel sleepy, when reading a book. I, just a lot of times turn on an audiobook, when I go to the gym and stuff. Or I think that the best way to read is pair up, reading the physical book with the audiobook. That's personally my favorite way to read. But there's nothing like, having like the physical book in your hand. As you probably know, I'm a huge advocate for physical media and all things tangible.
Yeah.
I know you're a pretty big Star Wars fan, based on some of your posts. So, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
So my favorite Star Wars movie of all time is Return of the Jedi, which is episode 6, by the way. And the reason why I like Return of the Jedi is not only just because of how I still think about the enslaved Princess Leia, but also just about how Luke was still able to like re-challenge Darth Vader about trying to bring back his real father, who was once named Anakin Skywalker, from right at the near ending. Like as far as how I think about how I pray that Luke will not turn himself to the exact same side of the Force as the way his father really has already, despite because of like one of his like type of weaknesses or his journey path to the dark side from ever since we're like the entire Star Wars prequel era. But even though like from my favorite part about Luke was that he just said that he'll never ever turn himself to the dark side ever at all, just because of how he was a Jedi, just like the way his father was before him.
Exactly. I'm actually working on a video about Return of the Jedi.
Nice.
Gonna be dropping very soon. To me, Return of the Jedi is always gonna be the conclusion to the Skywalker saga, despite of what Disney did with the sequel trilogy. Return of the Jedi is the definitive ending to Star Wars in my mind, because the Star Wars saga is the story of Darth Vader. And that story ends with him sacrificing himself to save his son and to restore balance to the galaxy, ultimately fulfilling the Chosen One prophecy.
Yeah.
Great choice. Great choice. At least you didn't say the Rise of Skywalker.
No.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
Tell me about your involvement with Campaign D.
So, as far as what has made me get into Campaign D, however, was just because of how my friend Dalton Letta from Roberts Wesleyan's Bell program has invited me to get involved with Campaign D from at least 6 years ago then already. And that's how long I have been one of their original board members so far already. So I did like how he has been able to organize everything about how to make Campaign D exist. Like as far as how we could still have an organization for a whole bunch of kids, young adults, and other people with autism once every single year in a row for like whenever it's Autism Awareness Month of April. And then that's how I have always still wanted to have a group page called My Staley Show, just like despite because of how I could still name my show compared to just like one of those other different like original show classics compared to just like from MeTV, which was the name of that Chicago channel, by the way. Such as like the Dick Van Dyke Show was a good example, and then same with the Andy Griffith Show and the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and also the Lucy Show, and then you just name all the rest of those older original show classics that I have ever once enjoyed watching, by the way. And then I just come up with like several multiple episode posts for my like per yearly season of my Staley Show, just so that way I could mention everything about like one of those national days, international days, or holidays, just like those two that I've just mentioned about already, onto my Staley Show. And then especially like those two different international days, like about mermaids and pageants, and then also national days about like tight ends from the sport of football, because I do enjoy football a lot, especially from when I first started watching football, and then also from when I first started playing football, the way I once had from between junior high and high school as well.
Yeah, I love how you bring awareness, to those more obscure holidays that most people aren't aware of, like Pretzel Day, Mermaid Day, as you said. Really, every day is the holiday. Tell me about your experiences being a Special Olympics athlete.
So I've been a Special Olympics New York athlete for less than nearly closer to 10 years already, especially from ever since like the year after when I was done with high school, for just the last 10 years to be exact, of course. And so I first started off with Special Olympics basketball, and then the next year later, then after my second year of doing Special Olympics basketball, was when I first started playing Special Olympics golf. And that's how long I've been doing Special Olympics golf for, was just the last 8 years already, and that's what I still do more often, like through Special Olympics. But I mean, I also like got myself back into doing Special Olympics track and field again, like for the very first time in 7 years, from as of last year already. Like for another different like Special Olympic organization, like the Pittsburgh Wreckers. And so that's usually more of like between half unified and half Special Olympics related, from as of last year. And so the very first time in 7 years from ever since then was from ever since I was like exiting Roberts Wesleyan's BOCES transition program, especially even as an official Bell alumni from that point already. And so I've done Special Olympics track for just the first 2 years in a row, just from like based on like through like Roberts Wesleyan's BOCES transition program related. And then I just had to, for the very first time, for like another different Special Olympics organization, like with the Pittsburgh Wreckers. And so also right after golf was when I then have done Special Olympics bowling, and then once just did Special Olympics floor hockey, from before when it then just changed to floorball already. And so I've done those other different sports except for track for like my first original Special Olympics team, which is the West Side Wolverines team. And so that's how long I've been a part of like the entire West Side Wolverines team, or West Side team, from before when they've just named it more of the West Side Wolverines, was just for that long.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So that is going to wrap up the second episode of Campaign D-Scussions. Go follow us at Campaign D. Links in the description, and the links to your Facebook, TikTok, Instagram will also be in the description too. So I hope you enjoyed this latest episode. I look forward to having you again on the podcast in the near future. Mm-hmm. And thanks for listening. Mm-hmm. Have a good one.